my gran actually went and studied in France. And I was always like, this is so interesting. It sounds like so much
Yeah.
fun. And of course, it wouldn't have all been fun because, it's work as well, but also just sort of exploring and like expanding your perspective. And I think like, some people might have a moment where they're like, oh my gosh, I really want to travel. But I think for others, it's just maybe just kind of ingrained in us. Okay, firstly, hi, Vala. I feel like really happy to sort of be on here
Mhm.
and everything. And yeah, so about empowering ethical travel, I guess we'll begin with the name because firstly, I kind of wanted to combine sort of solo travel with sort of traveling mindfully. And I think when it comes to sort of solo travel, and we were talking a little bit about this before, but
Yeah.
it can be very sort of scary, particularly at
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
Although the thing is
So,
that afterwards, people feel a lot more sort of confident, a lot more kind of empowered. So I guess that's the
yeah.
first part of the name. And I think in the future, I kind of want to share more sort of solo travel tips, both kind of internal and external. And then with ethical travel, um, I think there's so much nuance to like travel and to the world. And I think the more I'm like traveling, the more I kind of realize that. And a lot of
Yeah.
people probably do want to travel more sustainably, do want to,
Yeah.
have a good impact on, the local communities they're visiting and engaging with. And
Yes.
unfortunately, I think mainstream travel can make that a little bit hard, and there's so many sort of multi-faced like problems like there. But I think it is
Yeah.
possible for like people to learn from one another in order to
It is.
travel more ethically. And I
It
think
is.
like combining sort of, becoming, I don't want to say better, but more confident with solo travel and
Yes.
being more confident in and having a greater understanding of the sort of, I guess, political issues around travel. Um, is probably is important to me, and I guess I kind of want to sort of support other people in that
Um,
and I guess educate too. And I think there's quite a lot of content creators and bloggers who've been
yes.
for a while. So
I love it. And I know exactly what you mean that solo traveling can be scary because it happened to me too. It's kind of
yeah,
terrifying
it's
when you are
scary.
just starting. So just what you're saying, like learning from each other and learning how other like are already doing it, it's very helpful when you're starting and you can just, you know that you can reach out, maybe ask for advice and feel this like maybe a little more of comfort. And about ethical travel, I want to learn more. What made you say like I want to travel the world?
Okay, so it might sound a bit funny, but when I was like, I guess really young, I just sort of dreamt about like traveling, exploring new places, meeting new people. And I guess that kind of stayed with me. And then, like, as a sort of teenager, it didn't go away. And then, even like, I think before I went to uni, part of me really, really wanted to travel. But then at the time, I was just there, like, well,
Mhm.
I don't think it's that realistic. I don't think I've really, like, got it in me, if that makes sense. So then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about this time last year, I think, when I actually decided, well, it's not sort of too late or anything to start sort of traveling long term. At the end of the day, like there's sort of nothing to like lose there. And I think
Exactly.
I did also get quite a bit of encouragement from like people who are close to me, but also seeing people online like solo traveling as well, because I think it's become a lot more popular now, so there's a lot less stigma around it. But
Yeah.
even so, sort of explaining to some people, oh yeah, I'm traveling. Oh, who are you going with? Like, oh yeah, by myself. It can feel a bit awkward at first, but when there's so many people who are like confidently portraying it and like
Yeah,
sharing tips and everything, it kind of makes you realize like it is so worthwhile if you can. And also it's just more than possible and it's okay to, live a
it
life that's
is.
different from, say those at home.
I love it. Yes. Victoria, do you remember that in our first chats, we were talking a little bit about community-led tourism? You were sharing with me that you had a couple of experiences, and I'm just curious. I just wanted to ask about those experiences and also how did that feel for you? Like, was it like different from other travel experiences? How was it for you?
So
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them was, in fact, in Greece, in Naxos, the island.
Next.
And it was one evening, and there's this like live music sort of event advertised, and it looked like I'm not 100% sure, but it appeared that the venue was locally led, judging by how it was sort of set out, judging by the other sort of events it had on. And it was interesting. I was actually reading a bit more about Naxos because it was my favorite Greek island that I went to. And they are pretty sort of good with community-led sort of tourism there. And yeah, it was just sort of one evening, and it was good because it was a combination of like Greek music and just like standard pop music. So I know it was sort of there for tourists as well as for sort of the locals, but it was still really nice to have that mix. The second one which stands out, or the second few, was I did like a kind of internship in Bali, and a lot of
Nice.
that was sort of supporting, NGOs, although we spent probably more time just like exploring different parts of Bali as well. And they sort of integrated a lot of community sort of led projects and tourism into that. And I think that was part of their sort of idea because rather than it just being, oh, so we go and we like try and help people because we're like volunteers and all
Yeah,
this. It was good that they sort of promoted it as a thing where, we can learn from them as much, if, not, realistically, probably we learn a
yeah,
lot more from them. So that was really good, interesting. I think my favorite might have been the art workshop, even though I ended up painting a frog, which looked terrible, but that's not the point. But basically, it was just interesting listening to like, the locals who were running it. And
Mm.
I guess sort of one thing I'd say to someone who sort of maybe comes across the term community-led tourism and
Yeah,
thinks it's sort of something, I don't know, super niche, for example, is like
yeah,
it's not, it's kind of just not that obscure. Like you go somewhere, you sort of do stuff that you'd probably do or enjoy doing when traveling anyways. Yeah,
mm,
it's just a little bit more immersive in the sense that you learn more from the locals just because you're talking to them or you're just sort of listening to them. It's nothing sort of, it doesn't have to be sort of super educational. You don't have to go to somewhere, dare I say,
mm.
really remote. And of course, that's sort of something that's really fun as well. But for someone who's, say new to travel or who just wants to try it out, it's a lot more relaxed and like low key, than maybe people might sort of think it to be. At least that's sort of, when I first came across
Yeah,
it, I was like, it sounds amazing, but, it could be a little bit sort of challenging for me, but that's really not sort of the case. And
okay.
yeah, I think it's just good as well because there's
Yeah,
so many big businesses, profiting,
yeah,
in say somewhere that's not the country, basically. And I think it's just better to spend that money actually supporting local projects rather than, you know, supporting a business and goodness knows where that
Yes,
money comes from.
yes. It's very interesting what you're saying because yes, like as I was telling you at the beginning, sometimes the words or the terminology, the concepts, we are not clear. Like we just listen community-led tourism, but we are like I wasn't sure at the beginning what that even means, right? And it can be overwhelming or feel overwhelming because you don't know what it is or what to expect about the experience. So it's very interesting that what they're saying that it's like actually a relaxed experience and just meeting or living more experiences that are more about the place and with the locals and just like it's nice. So will you be like looking for more experiences like this in when you travel?
I think so, definitely. So you're like totally right because I mean, I'd probably come across it, say about a year ago, and yeah, sometimes there's like so many definitions, like sustainable travel, community-led tourism,
Yeah, I know.
they, they are and cover so much. And I don't know, I'm just interested, when because I know especially in sort of areas I'm less familiar in, like say, I don't know, science or whatever, when I come across like a really long word, I'm like, what on earth is all of this about?
Yeah,
So do
exactly.
you kind of feel that it'd be, it's more helpful when people just sort of break it down and say it as it is rather than using like, I don't know, words and terms that are kind of used interchangeably and are kind of a bit sort of, I don't know,
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like gatekeeping a bit, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, not sure either. I think like some it's like once we start learning about something, it kind of mix with the trending topic or like mix with a trend and the words sounds like beautiful and important, and sometimes we miss out the intention behind it or the real meaning of the word that is not just to be beautiful and fancy. It's like it has like a real meaning behind it, and that's why we want to look for it, not just to use it, a beautiful tag on our post and to say community-led tourism. Like there's something behind it that and where that's the important part, right? Like sometimes I think we miss out those things or get confused with those things trending or the real meaning behind it.
I agree as well because like I think sort of sometimes people pop it or not just people but organizations pop it on because it's trending and
Yeah,
it's like I think there's some people might think of sustainable travel as
yeah,
different to what other people think of it as, so like yeah, I think all of that's like important
yeah.
just to sort of
That's why
say
I
what's it.
appreciate accounts like yours and all those content creators that are like really looking to informing and in an easy way to understand in a way that you can relate to what you are saying to your words and like explaining it and showing it while you travel. That I really it's really valuable
Thank you.
what you are sharing and doing. Let's go
Thank
to our
you.
next question. One of your most popular reels is one where you are talking about the independence that one gains when you start solo traveling. And I love that so much because I can really relate to that. But you also mentioned balance. And I think that's so important because on one hand, you just are saying that finding yourself, like getting to get comfortable by being with yourself and also meeting people. I don't know if finding or building your community when you're traveling, learning to ask for help and all those things, it's also important. So balance. How do you or how did you or are you still like looking for that balance? And I don't know, like tell me more about it. How did you find this balance and what that this mean to you in your from your experience?
So I think it's so definitely something I'm still working on. I think when you sort of I think solo travel teaches people that, you are sort of competent, you can get stuff done like by yourself. You don't, need to be like dependent constantly because being in, say, and I'm sure you can relate, being in like a different sort of country or brand new city, navigating the public transport, being like, oh my goodness, is this a supermarket, is this a shop, what is, and like learning that, and just sort of simply going through day-to-day life, it takes like a lot of adaptation. Yet when you realize, oh yeah, you've sort of done it, it's so sort of rewarding. And I think that sort of teaches you that, you're competent, you can get stuff done, etc. And then also like maybe it's just because I'm like a little bit introverted, but you can also realize that there are sort of times where you can, really enjoy being on your own. Although, I think the moments or memories that I treasure most are ones that I have shared with other people when solo traveling. And these would
Yeah,
be
true.
people, people who you just meet often say spontaneously, or people who you
Yeah.
sort of see, every so often, or sometimes just like small encounters. And I think like maybe when we're sort of comfortable enough in ourselves, it sort of makes it easier for us to connect with others and to like open up like a little
Oh,
bit. And
yes,
I think
yes.
being in a neutral area sort of helps that. With finding like community, something I'm still working on because I think it's like if I was going on like a solo trip, it would be probably be a bit easier because like oh yeah, especially sort of in
Yeah.
your 20s, it's like stay in a hostel, go out, that's
Yeah.
fine. But when sort of balancing like other stuff, it can be a bit harder, but I guess what I'd say to like someone who's thinking about solo travel is like think about sort of staying somewhere for a bit longer, whether you choose to work, whether you choose to like volunteer or like do freelance, because then it's easier to make, say, longer connections with people. And then for those who are like thinking about solo traveling for a little bit or just, just
Yeah.
getting started, I'd say definitely go for it because you learn so much about yourself and you grow so much. But then just be open to like sort of the smaller connections as well. Because even if you just meet someone and it's like one night, or even if it's just like a little
Yeah.
chat, they're still meaningful.
Exactly.
Like that wouldn't have happened if you didn't choose to solo travel.
Yes. I love everything what you said. Yes, I agree so much. And it's so important what you said. Like, first, be comfortable with yourself, and that is going to like open the door to be comfortable with the others too. It's like, yeah, that's perfect. I want to ask you because was saying at the beginning, like the name of your blog and your Instagram account already says a lot. But I would love if you could just explain in your own words what the blog is about, what your Instagram account is about, what things do you share, and what inspired you to start doing this.
Okay, so it's a good question to ask, particularly at the moment, because I'm sort of trying to rethink some of the content I post a bit because I want it to be kind of a bit more sort of to support other people or like just sort of give out people like ideas and stuff. So in the future, I want to like post more, say, like little travel guides encompassing activities and things that are good for like solo travelers, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be just for solo travelers, like can be for, groups, etc. And
Yeah,
I mean, there are going to be some sort of touristy things as well, because I mean, come on, I'm in Paris right now. I'm not gonna not see the Eiffel Tower, right? But also sort of some more kind of community-led, sustainable
mm,
activities. So whether that's like a locally owned cafe or whether it's like a sort of workshop in something led by people who are like living there, or say a place that kind of focuses on like reusing stuff. That would be the sort of places
Yeah.
I'd wish to promote alongside all the fun touristy things because, come on. But that's just my
Yeah.
view. Some touristy things are worth visiting. And then sort of tips about sort of solo travel. So I did make a post quite a while back about like how to make friends when solo traveling. So I think more sort of content like that. And then with what I'm currently posting on Instagram, so I try and raise awareness of some of the, dare I say, political stuff around travel, or even just like the social stuff. So, for instance, I, I feel that um, before, say, learning about people, it's kind of easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm traveling, this is amazing. Everybody should do the same thing. Yet realistically, even like within the UK, there's a lot of people who would
Mm.
either have to sacrifice a lot, like an
Yeah.
awful lot to travel, or who just wouldn't have that opportunity for various reasons. And then I mean, me traveling by myself, aside from being like a young woman, I'm pretty safe. Because I'm from the UK, like I have a passport that makes it quite easy for me to like visit places, and that opportunity is unfortunately not equal. So that's just like an example, and then there's so many other sort of political, ethical, or whatever word you wish to pop in there, things around
Yes.
travel. Like, I don't know,
Actually.
like even how like elephants and that are treated in some sort of sanctuaries and stuff. And it's like even like, before I learnt about it, and I know I could learn a lot more, but I don't know, I might have seen an advert about riding elephants and think, oh, that's really cute. But then they're actually sadly in really, really bad conditions a lot of the time, and it's not healthy for them. Ask a wildlife person this because my knowledge on animal stuff's limited, but yeah, it's just sort of raising awareness about that, and then sort of showcase places.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, Instagram's more sort of maybe sort of like aesthetics, some sort of interesting reels, raising like, sort of political awareness, and then with guides. And then I'd say blog more sort of guides, political awareness, and then sort of just personal reflections as well. But they're both works in progress, so let's just see what happens.
I love it. I love it. And work in progress is the way I think that that's what keeps us moving. And like nothing is like fixed. I believe that everything is like alive. Even our projects are alive and they keep evolving as we do. So you are gaining more experience, you're noticing more things, you are, so I love that your blog and your account is like evolving with you, with your experiences and with all you're learning. That's amazing. From all the topics that you are sharing about, talking about, is there one special topic where your head is lately focused on and is there a reason behind it?
Um, the last thing that I would want to say to anyone is like, oh yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. And if I did, I'd be a
Mm.
complete hypocrite because I'm far, far from perfect.
Yeah.
But I'd say a way around that is if we can admit we're not perfect, and just sort of like keep an open mind, like, other sort of creators, but then also like just other people I meet, sort of open like my eyes to sort of new stuff all the time that I wasn't necessarily aware of or like that well informed of, then, gradually things will sort of improve. And I think like, businesses do, at least say sort of smaller scale businesses do respond to what's sort of, travelers, what people sort of like. So even if it's just like sort of small amounts, learning, trying our best, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But then I guess like there's still a part of me thinking, well, here I am, I've got this, opportunity. And you know, I don't know. This is probably food for thought, but
Yeah.
I question whether trying your best is trying your best sort of thing. But I
Mhm.
guess it's better to try.
I love that message that we are not perfect and we're not chasing perfection here, just to be a little bit more aware of the reality that surrounds us. From all the places you visit so far, is there one or two places or experiences that have a special place in your heart for any reason?
Probably first of all, Siem Reap in Cambodia. The reason for that is it was the first place I went to where I'd say I've made like a kind of lifelong friend, and I really, really want to go there again. And yeah, it was. Yeah, she was from sort of Siem Reap, and we actually had,
Yeah.
a lot in common, which is probably why we ended
Okay.
up getting
Mhm.
pretty close to one another. And also, I was volunteering with a NGO which like supports kind of people aged I think 16 plus or 18 plus
Mhm.
is one of them in
Yeah.
getting scholarship to uni, and it was just really emotional because in a lot of the people who were at the being supported by the NGO, they were like from really remote areas, and I guess their opportunities were quite poor otherwise. So they would have been most likely to say worked in say farming or worked in Thailand. Yet, instead they're getting degrees, they're, hopefully going to do absolutely amazing, and just sort of seeing the impact of, an NGO like that on how much it empowers people was incredible. And is I guess in one respect it made me realize how lucky I am. It's also just I guess sort of subconsciously I probably had preconceptions about how, you know, how it would be like or what the people would be like. But then, you
Yeah.
interact with people and you just realize everybody, regardless of background, etc., has so,
Mm.
so, so much more in common with one another than, we might
Mm.
initially think. So that was, really kind of emotional. And I guess just spending like longer there as well just made me feel more connected.
Beautiful.
Aside from that, on a more light-hearted note, Greece and Albania are two such beautiful countries. The scenery and the weather is amazing. So they're two places I also want to revisit.
I love Greece too. I haven't been to Albania,
Mm.
but I fell in love also with Greece. So I'm going to read this because on one of your posts, you finalized the post with this question: but can travel truly be ethical? And I think it's a very interesting question, a very food for thought question. And I'd love to know what you think about it. Like, I know you can't give a final answer, a finalized answer, because, it's a very open question, but what do you think about it?
Okay, so the short answer would be I don't know, which is probably what it was expected. The longer answer would be I think even if we don't know, I think it's really important to, have hope that things can change, that things can, get better, particularly with sort of everything that's like happening at the moment, like in the world. And I think, just having like a hope in sort of something can have a big impact on, say, the actions we sort of make ourselves, and then how that kind of impacts other people. And I mean, traveling too is something that has genuinely been really good for me. And I think from everybody I've spoken to who's, ever solo traveled or, anyone who like just likes traveling, has sort of benefited from it and it broadens like the individual's horizons. So maybe like, although there might not be at the moment, it feels like there should be a connection between individuals and groups of people traveling to somewhere and the place benefiting rather than it losing out. And I mean, I really don't think individual travelers are the people mainly to blame for that at all. I'd say it's big businesses, to be honest, but that would be a conversation for another day. Um,
Yeah.
but if say if someone goes to like another country, stays in like locally led accommodation, let's say, or even if someone's just on holiday and they decide, oh, it'll be really interesting to, go and do a local cooking class with a local, then if the local's doing it because they, run the enterprise or they're being supported in
Yeah.
it, then the money's going to them. If they have a love of cooking as well, then it'd be nice to think that they're getting sort of fulfillment out of what they're doing. And I mean, I went to a local cooking class in Bali. It was absolutely amazing. The food is so, so good. So, I mean, as travelers, our individual, sort of decisions can still make like a positive impact on the people, but also so much on
Yeah.
ourselves as well. So, I think we
Yes.
should hope and aim for travel to become ethical, but also, while we can try our best, I don't think it's healthy for us to like, beat ourselves up about kind of what's beyond our control.
I love that answer. I'm so happy I did that question, even
Thank
with when it
you.
was tricky. I
It was
love that
tricky.
answer. It was tricky, yeah, but I loved it. I love your answer. You're so right. Like, I don't know if we can like change everything, but I do believe, as you do, that small actions, small steps lead to something better each time. So maybe it's about the journey and not the destination, like what everyone says, right? Like it's about doing what we can, what is in our power to do to make things a little bit better or to make an impact somehow, like I love it. I love your answer. Like I have to say,
Thank
I want
you.
to. That question is going to be published because I love the answer.
Okay, great.
Needs to go.
Okay, no, thank you. And yeah, it's like say you can't change the world on your own, but like, doing sort of one sort of good thing or just sort of, one sort of small act of kindness. Oh my God, that's so cliche, but that can still make a difference to like one person's day and maybe as an individual that's, enough, maybe. Not
Yes,
sure, but
yes. I think that too. I believe in that too. So before we wrap up, I want to ask, do you have like any projects or dreams that you're excited about that are coming up for this year? Anything?
um yes, so I'm aiming to do quite a bit of work on my blog this year because I think last year I was very hit and miss about it. Because I was busy sort of seeing other places and yeah, just enjoying traveling. But I do kind of want to focus on it more sort of this year. And then I'm really excited because I'm going to Australia in a couple of months or in like I think it's in
Okay.
March, mid-March, and hopefully, I've got something lined up where I get free accommodation in exchange for like marketing
Okay.
for like a little sort of seems like a startup. And that would be nice because like I said earlier, I do like sort of spending longer in places and it's just easier for me to
Yes.
sort of feel connected and stuff then. Um, and then I guess a dream would be to maybe get into like freelance or like find some sort of part-time remote job. That would
Yeah.
be amazing. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, it's still all good. So
I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful dream and the project. I love it. In Australia, how do you still don't know how long are you going to be there, or you do already? Do you know how long
I'm
are you
not
going to stay?
sure. It's on Workaway, so it's a bit like Wellpacker. So
Oh,
yeah, I think it would be for at least a couple of weeks. But if that was the case, I'm gonna have to be a little bit sort of spontaneous. Then I think I'd just choose to find somewhere else in another part of Australia and stay there longer because the work is quite dependent on like the needs of the business. And to be honest, this is going to sound bad, but I messaged him before the new year, and I need to sort of catch up with him again to like just make sure that it's still happening. So we'll see about that one.
I love it. I love it. I'll be just checking your stories and your posts and seeing how everything.
See
But
what
I
happens.
I think it's fantastic that you are taking adventures, and yes, I that I also discovered that like for my own life, like putting yourself out there is what opens doors. Like, like moving from your comfort zone and safe zone is what actually shows you where the doors are, because if not, it's not possible to see them. So I think you're going to be great there, and everywhere you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me today for this coffee chat. I learned so much. I'm very happy that we got to talk a bit about everything. And I'm going to be sharing, of course, your links, the link to your blog, the link to your Instagram account, so people can maybe reach out, message you about solo traveling or ethical travel or anything. Thank you, Victoria.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to see like the links and I love what you're doing as well because it's nice to like have like a sort of platform where like sort of solo travelers, other content creators and like sort of good businesses are sort of all in one place as well to sort of
Yeah.
encourage that, and I'm really really excited to see like that evolve, and I want to check out the rest of the content creators on there because there's some I follow who I really like.